is 8 o'clock on the East Coast. It is 5 o'clock on the West Coast. It is the 7th of November in the year of our Lord 2024. Season 15, episode 18. 687 times you have been welcomed to the Clubhouse Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things sports, pop culture, entertainment, and pro wrestling. It's what we do, and we've been doing it a long time. Welcome. My name is Rob. I am the executive producer of the Clubhouse Podcast, and we're a month into this beard again. I did the research. This is my 10th year doing this. So, because it is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month and Men's Health Awareness Month. So, fellas, go get yourselves checked, especially as we get older. We got to get it done. Alex out on assignment tonight. We were hoping to be skating in full strength, but that happens. Hopefully we'll be back next week, but I am not alone. A man you may not recognize because it's been like a month. You may know him as Zig Bunu, but his mama named him Don Ford. I'm going to call him Don Ford. Chabuya. What's up, man?
Booyah.
Welcome back.
I blessed the rains.
You did indeed.
Yes, I did.
And it is, I bless the rains. People screw that lyric up all the time. It is not, I miss the rains. I bless the rains. In Africa. From Toto 4, one of the great albums of our generation, and I will stand by that. But
no argument there.
Don did have a trip with his lovely wife. How was the trip, sir? First of all, how many legs of the flight were there?
Okay, so we went to Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
And we took the flight from Dallas to Atlanta, had a 2-hour flight, and then about a 2.5-hour layover. And then we took a straight flight from Atlanta to Lagos, which is the biggest city of New York.
How long was that leg of the flight?
Airtime 11.5 hours. And there's 6
from
hours
Atlanta or from Dallas?
Atlanta to Lagos, 11.5 hours straight. One flight, airtime 11.5 hours, and you arrive the next day. We left at about 5:30 Eastern time, arrived about 10 a.m. Nigerian time. They're about 6 hours ahead of Central time, like their same time zone as England.
Okay. Excellent frame of reference. Nice job.
Yeah, and Nigeria is the about the size of Texas and Utah combined.
Okay.
Put those two states together, that's about the size area of Nigeria. But it's the 6th most populous country in the world. And so there's about 240 million people in the size of Texas and Utah combined.
When you very dense population.
Yeah, when there's 350 million in the U.S., and you just take 2 states, you can imagine how populous it is.
Indeed.
Yeah, so there was a lot of prep we had to do. We had to get shots like the typhoid, yellow fever ahead of time. Me being a foreigner, I had to get the visa ahead of time from the consulate. We actually went to the consulate in Atlanta that got the visa to put in my passport. So we arrived. First thing I noticed when we arrived, it was hot, humid hot, especially in the morning when it's cloudy. You just kind of felt that heat. And the Lagos, not the newest airport, unfortunately, but so you saw the difference immediately when you arrived, even when we flew on Delta. So then when we got through, we had somebody help us through the process of going and doing the immigration for my part, and then getting our bags, going through customs and all that stuff. We had to pay the guy to do it. And if we didn't do it, it would probably gave us another hour, because in Nigeria, you want something done. People want that. Hey, you help me. Come on.
Fair enough.
So, and then one of the funniest parts is when we're waiting for the car to pick me up to take us to the airport and we're in Lagos, there's people trying to do those scams on me, and Faith was already, she's already within 30 minutes.
So that we're clear, that's why you were there. That is where she is from.
Yeah.
So she understands the local customs and could take you through these things. Yes.
Oh, exactly. So it was great on that part. And then when we took the car, in Lagos, we had a driver for us, and we had like a SUV and a driver to take us to the airport and drove us around the city. Somebody we ahead of time, security come, that kind of thing. And then when we left Lagos to drive through this country to go to our hometown of Sepulveda, we could have flown most of it, but on the way there, I wanted to drive and see the country, see what it was really like.
That's fair.
At that point, we had to have an armed guard with us. And there's companies that do that. And at one point, I'm glad we did it because there was some tense moments, and if we didn't do it, it would not have been. It was well worth the money. Put it that way. There was one tense point where,
yeah, I mean, you this is a different culture. It's a different
culture
thing, and you want to be able to be, you want to be safe, and you want to travel well.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
And it's well recommended. The State Department will tell you to do what we did. You go to the State Department website. But it was kind of when we got to the air, we stayed in like the Radisson in Hilton in the 2 times around Lagos, and you get in there, the cost about a hotel here, maybe $250 a night.
Okay.
But they're very well secured. You drive up, they have guards, they have the mirrors under the car. Every bag has to get checked and stuff like that.
You felt very secure at the hotel.
In hotels, you felt very secure.
Okay, good.
In the hotels, and because of the security, because they have a lot of foreigners stays.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the thing is, when we got in there, and I noticed immediately when we're driving from the airport, it's a very poor country. It is a third world country, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have a population that dense. The economy is affected by that.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and I'll get to that in just a minute on the discrepancy and why in the southern part of Lagos, which used to be the capital, and then when we're driving through Benin and all through the country, get to Benin and Sepulveda, is that you could see how people live in what would literally be a shack here. You have a shed that's about to fall down in your backyard. People would live in something like that, and they don't even have utilities. I saw people living under signs, under trees, under the overpass, under the roads. People literally live in how we are so blessed in this country we have electricity. We have running water. A lot of people do not have it. They sleep outside under the ground.
Again, different culture, different area of the world.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I felt really blessed on that, and it made you really think about that. When we drove through, though, it's kind of weird. We literally had we counted at least 30 checkpoints when we're driving through the country and this goes through the city all the time. You'd see them through the city too. There'd be military people there, like 3 or 4 guards, and they would just randomly check cars and go through, make sure they have nothing going on.
Right.
So we're doing that long trip around the countryside. There was a lot of checkpoints, but with the military guard up front, we didn't get stopped once. They see military, they just go
because this is what, again, the State Department suggested you do this
exactly
to stay safe. You felt safe. Perfect.
Yeah, and these were government checkpoints,
right?
But
right.
And another thing is the military. You cannot wear camouflage unless you're police or military. Like you could buy camouflage at the
Army Navy store, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's more of a recognizing who's who kind of a thing.
Exactly. Okay. So if you go wearing camouflage, you're not part of the military, they will probably arrest you for it. It's very symbolic.
So tell me about Faith's Town.
One thing I do want to get the roads. And the thing is that a lot of roads, they're good for a little bit. And then it's a lot of roads that are just in horrible conditions, big potholes, huge, where you have to go through the roads and swerve just to meet. They're in horrible conditions. It's good for 100 feet, then it's bad. And it gets so weird that people will drive on both sides of the roads because some roads are so bad, they come on the other side. And so you're on one way this way, there's cars coming your way.
Again, benefiting you by having a driver because the driver knew how to navigate.
Exactly. And the thing is, there'll be roads where it's like 3 cars, room for 3 lanes. They'll drive on the lines. And then when they'll honk and say, get over, I'm coming, then they'll get over. And then when you get past, they'll go back and be like taking over 2 lanes.
Okay.
It's kind of the weird kind of, I'm just driving, people just kind of move out for each other and all that stuff. No real street signs, only a few stoplights in Lagos. When we got to Benin in Sepulveda, where she grew up, it's a small town. Benin might be something like San Antonio. Lagos would be something like New York. Okay. And then we drove from Lagos to Benin, and that was probably driving from like Dallas to Huntsville. And then Benin to Sepulveda was maybe Huntsville to Houston. And Benin's probably
Huntsville, Texas.
Huntsville,
not Huntsville, Alabama.
No, Huntsville, Texas. Yeah.
Remember, we are a global show.
We're going to be a 3-hour drive.
So 3 to 4 hours, depending.
1 hour and then 1 hour drive between. Now, Subway would be something like the size of McKinney or Sherman, Texas.
So for those of you unfamiliar, it's a suburb.
Not huge.
Not huge, but enough to know that you're in the city.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't see any stoplights, stop signs. The roads were really kind of tough to get through. A lot of driving, and you're going through the interstate, and all of a sudden you stop because there's a 6-foot round pothole in the street that's 3 feet deep, and you have to slow down, go through the hot, and it's just really weird on stuff like that. No police cars patrolling, really. It would just be if there was, the stops, the government stops more than anything. So you're not driving weird, you never get a ticket. It's really weird to see animals on the side of the road. You'd be in a city on Lagos, and there's a Stitcher gas, and there's horses feeding there.
It's because it's like being in the country.
Yeah, but no, I mean, you're talking in the middle of the city.
But where she is on the outskirts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but even in the middle of the city, I saw on the little patches of grass on the main streets, there's like horses, cows, whatever eating there. I did see a lot of American restaurants there in Lagos, Subway, KFC, BK, but all the big ones that never saw Krispy Kreme, never saw McDonald's. There's no McDonald's out there. That was where Stone Cold, Cold Stone, all that stuff. And let's see. People would be selling at the intersections. Mm-hmm. You see just open markets on the side of the road, and they're just sitting out there. There's no FDA regulations. Like they would come up with just you'd see like meat just sit at the table at the market on the outside.
Again, different area of the world, different cultures.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. It was kind of weird. We got a thing called ram sui, which they were cooking ram, and they do it on the side of the road. And so you come up and they're cooking it right there over a barrel on a board, just at a street corner. You come up, I want that piece there, and you just buy that one piece at a time. They wrap it. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of interesting to see how people would do that, and also the people would be walking around with stuff on their head, and they're not even touching it. You've seen that those
they're carrying goods, basically.
Yeah, they're carrying goods on their head, and like I see a lady with like 12 huge bottle waters or like sodas and stuff, just walking around like this, not even touching it, and she could just go, and it's like it's sitting plain.
Yep. We've actually probably seen that in videos. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And they had little some times they would have certain areas where when shops they'd have like a plumbing area, they'd have an auto area in some of the shops. There are some times where especially in Subway and everything, that all of a sudden the power goes out to the whole city. Mm-hmm. And so people are used to that. They have solar works. They have like generators and stuff, like the hotel we had in Abuja we stayed at. Subway, they had a huge generator size of 2 RVs. Power goes out. Our power goes out. They turn on the generator. Mm-hmm. It comes back on. But that's something they're used to. They don't get regular 24-hour. Skylines are not lit up at night because they want to conserve. Okay. The weird thing, gas was about equivalent to about $3 a gallon.
Okay.
When you do all the conversions and all that stuff, Naira is their usual, is their currency. And 1,000 Naira is about 60 cents.
Okay.
So 1,000 Naira is about 60 cents. Cars, you'd see cars, it's like, like in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that little VW bug that they drove in the beginning of the movie?
I will say yes for the sake of this argument, but I don't watch those kind of movies.
Or those cars in the Blues Brother that got all
yes.
If they're driving in Nigeria right now, I would not be surprised.
Well, yeah, it's
they have stuff like cracked windshields all over. It's like, how's that thing driving? People be on top of cars.
Keep it moving.
Keep it moving. But that's just what they do.
Right.
One time we had some issues with one of the banks closing, and we tried to Zelle money to a different account. It won't let me do my Zelle even though I'm logging on my account because I'm in Africa. It was kind of weird.
There are restrictions on some of those things.
Let's see. Then the weird part was we did the dowry, had an incredible time.
Was that the pictures you sent us? Was that from that? There was a ceremony involved with that. Okay, because you did send us pictures,
and that's where it's that it was a ceremony and all that. I actually had to get on my knees 3 times and beg for the permission to marry Faith.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
it's part of the. They say, how much? We want $1 million, and if I mean $1 million naira, and I have to get on my knees and go, no, too expensive. Please
So
go
was
down.
it more of like that was just part of the
It's a very
pageantry of it?
Yes, exactly.
But it wasn't. There was nothing demeaning. There was meant to be demeaned. Everything was light and what it was supposed to be.
Exactly, and like they say, do you
want to be clear on that?
What?
I just want us to be clear.
Yeah.
It
was part of it. It's very symbolic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's part of the thing where it's just I have to please beg 3 times to let me marry.
Okay.
Yep. And then like they asked her when she came in at the end, do you want to marry him? First 2 times she's not allowed to answer. She has to, part of the symbolic. If she can't, I don't know. Okay, yeah, that kind of thing.
And for those of you that don't know, Don and Faith have been married for over 7 years. Again, this is symbolic. Yeah. This is tradition. So,
I mean, it's a very symbolic thing that's respectful to their culture. And I had my brother-in-law, almost her brother, who was the person who stood up for me on it. Mm-hmm. He was the man who said, "I'm going to represent him to the family." Okay. Right. And then I had to give money and then he gave some back. It's part of it's just a ritual. It was kind of weird on the Nairas though. We got when we went to the bank and pulled out some because Faith had an account and we'd just pull out currency to, use around. And we got 200,000 Naira that came in stacks of 50. We got new ones and they're all not new, but they're all in numerical order. Mm-hmm. You get a bunch of they're all different numbers and all that and letters.
Just like we have numbers on our currency.
Yeah.
The serial number kind of.
Yeah. These were actually in the numbers that you 1 through 10, which is kind of interesting.
Straight from the mint to you.
Yeah. Okay. And then so we started in Lagos, went to Benin, stayed a night on that travel, then stayed to separate our family for a few days. Then we had to get back to Benin and take the small airport, like the Addison airport. And we flew to Abuja, which is now the capital.
More of an executive airport.
Executive. It's a smaller airport.
About this size, we have to explain these things.
Yeah, I understand. And so it's like a smaller airport. So we flew from Benin to Abuja, which is now the capital, which is the mid part of the country. And when we arrived there, seemed like a normal airport. We got out. We had this with the hotel, the Hilton out there. They helped us get the transport ahead of time and stuff like that. And when we're leaving the airport, one thing I noticed, I'm like, are we in Frisco?
Oh, so it was very upscale.
Yes.
For those, Frisco is not San Francisco. Frisco is also Texas. A suburb on the north side of Dallas that is very new and very upscale. Yeah. So you definitely were in a different space than you were before.
Hugely.
All right, keep it moving.
Yeah, they moved the capital to Abuja 30 years ago, but now that's where the conflict is. A lot of the money is going to Abuja to make it this beautiful city that's outgrowing and all that stuff, but they're not upkeeping Lagos.
Not into the politics of everything.
Yeah, but that's where. But you see this difference, and it's like, are we in a new city? It's beautiful. And so the hotel we stayed at was a Hilton, very beautiful. It's like one on the Strip. I mean, that you'd see in Las Vegas. And it was like the regular price of a Hilton here in Dallas or something, like $250 a night. So that was a difference of the culture to see how different the new cities are versus the older part of the country. And then we stayed at the Dome. When we drove by, we saw this huge dome. They call it the Glory Dome with a gold roof. It's a church. It's bigger than any NFL stadium like Jerry World in Dallas or in Arlington. So it's really see how, there's a lot of religion there. There are 2 different religions. The southern part's more of the Christian, but the northern part's more of the Islam religion of the 2 different countries. So there's no official religion, but it's either mostly Christian or Islam.
Those are the 2 dominant
religions. Yeah. But so there's a lot of churches there. We saw synagogues, everything. And then there's a lot of stuff I could go into, but basically then we flew back to stayed 2 days in Abuja, which was great to see the capital, take a little rest, and we went back to Lagos, and then we flew out from there. Okay. The thing that's really weird is seeing a lot of security in the airports, even the small ones. There's always military guards there when you arrive, everything like that. Having to go through the process of everything, it takes a long time. It's not like when especially if you have like global entry, you get back to the US, here's your US passport, you get through. So there's a lot of processing, but seeing the military presence at every airport, even when you arrive, they scan everything, every bag. Once you walk in, they scan everything. Then you go check in, then they scan it again. So I noticed there was a lot of security at those airports and military presence. I mean, it's just, but basically we take, I feel, a lot of things for granted living in America. How we have electricity all the time, we have running water, we have utilities, and a lot of people don't have that. And it was incredible to do. And I will always, this trade trip made me really feel how blessed we are.
All right.
And so it was an incredible experience. It was to be able to do that and see a different culture. If you ever get the chance, please reach out if you're ever interested in doing something like that. But do your homework ahead of time. Make sure you do what you have to do ahead of time. It's not like at London where you just show up with the U.S. passport and you can get through. There's a lot of preparatory into doing countries like this, where you need the visa, you need to get the shots, you need to make sure you know where the hospitals are at in case there's an emergency. And one last thing I want to bring up is we were in Lagos on the first couple of days, and we're in this little shopping area, and we walked in, and a lady says, "Oh, if you need anything, this is where this part is. This part is it. It's like a multi-store little strip area." And then the lady goes, "You're American?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Come here, talk to this guy over here." And I go up to this gentleman who looks like he's American, wearing an African outfit, and they go, "This told me to say hi. I'm Don Ford." He goes, "Oh, I'm Richard Mills." "Oh, nice to meet you. How you doing?" "Good." He goes, "Where are you coming from?" "We're from Dallas." "Where are you from?" "I'm from Washington, D.C." He's the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria.
Oh, you got to
We
meet.
walked into a store. There was a U.S. ambassador.
Oh, very nice.
If we got there 10 minutes later, we missed the guy.
That's kind of neat.
We talked a little bit and interested in faith and everything, but just that chance encounter, there's like media people there and everything, and we just talked a little bit. But that was our U.S. ambassador to Nigeria I ran into. So to be able to talk to him for a few minutes was kind of lightning too. But life training trip, it's a different world. It's always worth, if you have a chance to do something like that, do it, but be prepared. I always remember it. I'll never forget it. I'll always cherish it, but I always remember how blessed we are.
Absolutely. Great job.
All
right. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this show. We have the first college football rankings up for what could be the playoffs if they started today. Starting this year, there will be 12 teams in the playoffs. Top 4 with a bye, then the bottom 8. Don, I want you to know that yesterday, on a whim, I went to the Google machine.
All right.
And I looked to see if the bowl schedule was available.
Okay.
It is. We will be doing our bowl picks coming up next month once the teams are announced. Now, with this new playoff system, Don,
listening,
when do you think the national championship game will be played?
The final game.
The final game. The one for all the marbles.
Usually it's like January 7th or something around there.
Okay.
Due to the different games and all this stuff, I'm going to say the week before the Super Bowl.
You're very close.
Oh, weekend before the Super Bowl.
January 20th is your college football national championship game.
January 20th.
January 20th. I have maintained for years that if you're going to go this far, you should have it the night before the Super Bowl in the city where the Super Bowl will be the following year. Now, granted, the divorce rate in this country may skyrocket if that happens, but I'm just saying. So if the playoffs started today, here are your teams. Just outside of the top 12 are SMU at 8-1, A&M at 7-2 after they're upset by South Carolina this past weekend, and LSU at 6-2. Boise State currently has the 12 seed at 7-1. Above them, Alabama at 6-2. Notre Dame at 7-1 in the 10 spot. At 9 is BYU. They are undefeated, as is Indiana, but they've got Michigan State and Ohio State coming up. If they can get through those two games, watch out for Indiana.
If Indiana was to lose one of the remaining games, just one, do you think they'd stay in the top 12?
It's going to depend on what Boise State does.
Okay.
Because there are 8 at-large bids. Because your top 4, your Power 4 conference champions get the automatic bid.
Yeah.
Even if they're not undefeated.
Yeah.
Penn State at 7-1, and Tennessee's at 7, Penn State at 6, Texas at 5, and they are hosting Florida this week, who just announced today that they're keeping their coach for another year. Miami at 4, Georgia at 3, Ohio State at 2, Oregon currently at the top of the pack. Only 2 of the top 4 are currently undefeated, and that being Miami and Oregon. Florida came out strong at the beginning of the cocktail party, and then it just fell apart.
Yeah.
So there was that. So that's where we stand today. As we get closer, Alex will make sure that we have our NCAA bowl game pick'ems ready for you to go when it's time. We will have our special edition show where we will do our picks for that as well. So get ready for that. That'll be coming up next month.
Well, yeah, how many bowls are there going to be, not counting the playoffs? Because there's going to be 4 playoffs when it gets. The first 8's going to be 4, then there'll be 8 teams left, and there's going to be 7 games after that. So there's 11 playoff games in the end. Correct?
And I didn't see any, just at a quick glance. I didn't look at it real deep. At a quick glance, I did not look like we were going to have any bowl games sacrificed. So we're going to have a lot of college football a little while in about a month.
There's going to be like 45 bowls now.
Oh, we'll know soon. We don't want to. We want it. Got to package it down. Got to tease it. Got to make them want it.
I know.
Give the people what they want. But not.
I remember there used to be like 7 bowl games, and that was it. They actually meant something.
Well, I mean, what's the answer to all your questions, Don? Money. What do we always say? Yep, money is the answer to all your questions. In the NFL, New Orleans, coach out. Dennis Allen, after 7 straight losses, no longer the coach of the New Orleans Saints.
He's gone.
So there is that. I'm just not a big fan of firing the coach in the middle of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of see that. If it's week 12 and they haven't won a game in a year and a half, I could see maybe that. But
finish the season. Just finish the season, wash it out, and then start over. Because starting somebody in the middle of a season, even if they're on the coaching staff, it's a culture change. It's a culture shift. And I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, I'm kind of like keeping, unless there's, some real bad circumstance,
In our fantasy league, Alex now in second place at 6-3. I was beaten this week, but I maintain my 5th place. I am tied for 5th. But I do not have the tiebreaker, but I am in 5th place at 5-4. We'll keep you updated on that. In our Pick'em League, Alex making a move. He's now in the top 5 by me not picking the Monday night game correctly. I have fallen to 2nd. So all our picks are in for tonight. Don, I'm going to tell you something else about our Pick'em League. Something happened last week that I don't think will ever happen again.
What's that?
I am like 30 games above 500 right now in picks.
Okay.
I was in the top 1% of every pick'em record on ESPN's website. I've fallen to the top 2.2.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I was in the top 1%, Don, in week 8. How amazing is that?
I'm proud of you because I can't do it.
Let's talk about last week in the Thursday night game. New York Jets were giving 2.5. We thought it was insane. Boy, were we wrong. As the Jets win 21-13, Still trying to figure that out. Dallas loses to Atlanta on the road by 6. Atlanta was only giving them 3. Buffalo, Miami hanging in there. Alex and I both would have taken Buffalo minus the 6, but Miami hung in there, only loses by 3. Cincinnati all over Vegas. Gave them 8, but it wasn't enough because they win by 17. The Chargers have not chargered yet, but the time is coming, but they beat Cleveland by 17. Tennessee over New England in the nap game of the week. Commanders over the Giants. They were given 4, but they win by 5. Woo! Saints lose to Carolina, as we talked about before, but when you lose to Carolina, giving Carolina, I believe, their first win. Baltimore all over Denver 41-10. Philly beats Jacksonville by 5. Arizona beats up on the Bears. I'm still not sold on the Cardinals. They're playing well, but I'm still not sold. Not on the level that I feel about the Chargers every year, but I can see it from here. Detroit beats Green Bay by 10 on the road in a game. My good Lord, the rain in the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. But a great game. Detroit wins by 10. Los Angeles Rams over Seattle by 6. LA was giving them 1.5 on the road. Minnesota, man, they didn't beat the Colts by much. Colts actually played a little ball there, but they only lose by 8. And then Kansas City only losing by 6, only beating Tampa Bay by 6 in a game with a Tampa Bay team that has been beaten up. Your Pittsburgh Steelers were on the bye last week, Don, as were the 49ers. Right now, we have a game going on at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. Cincinnati just scored the first touchdown of the game, so it is 7-0. Excuse me, get the hiccups. With 9:23 left in the first. Don, right now, going into this game, Baltimore was giving 6. How do you feel about that?
I'm going to do an update. Cincy.
I'm still not. I think Baltimore's going to win this. I think they're going to get the wheels on this week.
But it's one of those. Yeah, Baltimore's tough and everything like that, but it's still a division game. In this division,
you're not wrong.
Yeah, you can have Cleveland at 2-8, and Baltimore at 9-1, and Cleveland's going to give them a run. May win.
We are back in Europe on Sunday morning at 9:30 Eastern in Germany as the Giants play the Panthers. New York's giving them 6.5.
I'm going to take New York.
I feel like I'm going to as well, but I'm not real excited about it.
No.
I'm kind of glad I'll be in church because that'll be my excuse not to watch that game. Coming up at 1 o'clock Eastern, New England goes to Chicago. Chicago's giving 6. Chicago's been playing a little unstably. New England starting to get the wheels on, but I don't know. Chicago coming off a rough loss. I would actually take Chicago minus the 6 in this.
It's a lot of points, but still I'd take the Bears. I'd feel better if it was 3, but still at 6, I'd take the Bears. I wouldn't bet a lot on it. There's other games I'd bet more on, but I'd take the Bears with the 6.
Buffalo goes to Lucas Oil Stadium, and they're giving the Colts 4.
At home, I'd take the Colts with the 4.
I don't know how I feel about this. Like, they squeaked one by Miami. Buffalo did. The Colts are still trying to figure out. I don't know if Anthony Richardson's going to play. I know they were benching him because, he was tired. I'm just going to go the other way to go the other way.
Okay.
I'm going to say Buffalo minus the 4. Kansas City hosting Denver. Kansas City, the only undefeated team left in the league. They're giving Denver 7.5, and I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, I'd take KC. Even if it was 10, it'd be a different story. But only 7. But you never know.
7.5.
You never know.
7.5. I think they will win this by 10. Falcons go to New Orleans. Atlanta's giving 3.5, and it ain't enough. I don't think that the Saints, they're so up and down, and now they've gotten rid of their coach, and they're trying to do all these things. Atlanta is playing well enough in a terrible division. I believe the Falcons win this game.
I take Atlanta on that.
Tampa Bay hosts San Francisco. I just got notification earlier that Christian McCaffrey is expected to play. My Buccaneers are pretty banged up. San Francisco, they're giving 6.5. I think they can win this by a touchdown.
Yeah, I'd take San Fran, even if it's 6.5. Again, I'd feel better if it was 4, but I'd still say take San Fran on that.
I got to say, Don, and what could be my favorite game of the week.
Okay.
And if you'd have said, go back 5 years and say, Rob, you're going to say this is going to be your favorite game of the week in 2024, I would laugh you out of my house. Your Pittsburgh Steelers, Don.
Yeah.
Go to FedEx Field to play the Washington Football Club, and you're getting 3.
I'm taking my Steelers on that.
I want George Pickens to have all the touchdowns because he's on my fantasy team.
Okay. No, I take the Steelers on that one.
I believe this will be a push. I'm actually going to take Washington minus the 3 because I think they win this by a field goal and it evens out. Because this is going to be a great game to watch. It's a CBS game, so check your local listings, or if you have the Sunday ticket, I watch everything on Red Zone. By the way, I also found out, because another thing I went to the Google machine for.
What's that?
I Googled, does SiriusXM have Red Zone? They have something similar.
Oh, really?
They have a channel called the Sunday Drive that apparently is similar to Red Zone.
Oh.
So I may have to check that out at some point.
That's interesting.
Don's dark horse pick, which getting less and less likely by the day.
Exactly. I admit it.
The Jacksonville Jaguars are hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota's giving them 7. It ain't enough. Jacksonville is in free fall right now. They might beat them by 30.
I don't care. I'm gonna do my upset.
You're gonna take Jacksonville plus the 7?
Yes, I am.
All right. Tennessee goes to the Chargers. The Chargers are giving 7.5. It is November. It is time for the Chargers to charger. I know this is going to be a terrible pick, and I'm probably going to be horribly wrong, but give me Tennessee plus 7.5.
Yeah, I'm taking Tennessee.
Because Chargers going Charger.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
Cowboys hosting the Eagles. The Eagles, for all of the struggling they've been doing, they're 6-2 right now, Don.
Eagles.
Philly is giving Dallas 7.5. I am right there with you. Dak could be out the rest of the season with a hamstring, which was weird because when he first hit the sideline, they were showing his hand being kind of inflamed. So I don't know what was going on there last Sunday. Also in the late set, Jets at Cardinals. Jets are giving 1.5 to the Cardinals on the road. Give me Arizona.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
1 week tells me nothing when it comes to the Jets.
No.
Sunday Night Football. Detroit goes to Houston. Houston. Detroit currently 7-1 and playing like a team on a mission. They are giving Houston 3.5. Houston has a couple of key injuries. Everybody on this show picked Detroit to go to the Super Bowl. I can't pick against Detroit in this game. I'm interested. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I can't pick against Detroit.
It'll be a good It'll be a good game. And I think it'll be close, but in the end, I'm taking Detroit.
And then Monday Night Football, Miami goes across the country to play the Rams at SoFi. LA is giving Miami a point. I would take Miami +1.
Yeah, I would too.
It's not going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
But it's Monday Night Football. All right, let's get into TV talk. And it was time for us to do a little stuff we watched this week. TV edition. Don, any TV you want to talk about this week?
We were catching up on a lot of shows. We since we're gone and stuff like that. Anything new? Not really. But I like how the season of From on MGM is coming.
Okay.
It's not like burning out or anything like that. So that's my pick right now to bring up right now.
I have no new TV this week. It's been
no new TV. Okay.
Crazy week. Some headlines, though. CBS has given full season orders to the spinoff NCIS Origins and Papa's House with Damon Wayans. Have both gotten full season orders. I've heard there's a couple more that they're about to give as well. HBO Max news. My wife is a big fan of The Gilded Age. Season 3 is going to add one of the most underrated actors of our time in Dylan Baker. So I'm very excited for that. And the Lanterns series has added Garrett Dillahunt to its cast. So that is actually starting to come together. I'm very much looking forward to this series when it happens. I'm thinking probably sometime next summer. We have your mega mentors for season 26 of The Voice, Don.
Who's that?
One would be Jennifer Hudson.
Okay, I can see
that. The other one, I'm going to give you his name, and I'm going to test your knowledge, Don.
Okay.
The other one is a young man by the name of Gordon Sumner. Do you not know who Gordon Sumner is? You know who Gordon
sounds familiar.
You may not know who Gordon Sumner is.
No, off the top.
He doesn't want you to stand so close to him, Don. He might say that da is all he wants to say to you.
Yeah, I'm a blank. I can't think of it.
Every breath you take, he's going to be watching you, Don.
Oh no,
that is Sting.
Sting,
not Steve Borden.
Okay,
that's the other Sting.
Yeah, not that one.
This is Gordon Sumner Sting, so he will be one of the mega mentors on season
Sting
of The Voice. Netflix has renewed Love is Blind for season 8. Yay. But they've said that season 5 of the popular show Outer Banks will be its last. This is a very popular series on the Netflix. Don, were you a fan of Squid Game?
Yeah. The original season. Now, they did that American quote version.
That was like a game show, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't that great. Nothing like the first, like the
Well, what if I told you they're looking to do an actual American version of Squid Game?
If they do it right.
What if I told you David Fincher is attached to it?
Again, if they do it right.
And you know who David Fincher is, correct?
Yeah.
7.
Yeah, but
Fight Club.
Of course. But the thing is that, so I love the original Squid Game, but then what they did with the new version, I don't want a piece of trash coming out. You know what I'm saying?
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
And there was a video released yesterday. If you want to look it up, you can. I'm not going to go too deep into it because it could have spoilers in it. But a video was released yesterday that has told us season 5 of Stranger Things is coming next year. In this video, it does show the names of all of the episodes. However, one title in the episode has the last 2 words of it blurred out, because if those words were not blurred out, it would probably be a huge spoiler.
Yeah.
So if you want to look it up, it's out there. Go check it out. I am very excited because that means I get to spend some cool time with Phil and Maddie because we watch all of the Stranger Things stuff together. Prime Video has also.
Before we go, going back real fast to the Squid Game, I thought they already did a second season. They're doing a second season.
Season 2 of Squid Game actually drops on Christmas Day.
That's okay. That's the question I had. Okay.
And Prime Video has renewed Clarkson's Farm for season 5. I think this is a British show, if I'm not mistaken. TV on DVD and Blu-ray this week, season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy. This is one of the two animated series. The other one is Lower Decks. Criminal Minds Evolution. They're calling it season 17, but I think it's got to be like season 3 because Evolution was like the second series, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm very confused by that. The complete series with the movie of Afro Samurai will be released on Tuesday. I really, really enjoyed that series. And the Blu-ray release of the complete series of King of Queens will be available to you on Tuesday. Let's get into movies and stuff we watched this week. Movie edition. Oh, by the way, The Autumn Winds a Raider. I actually saw 2 movies this week, Don. Actually, I've seen 3, but the third one we're going to talk about here in a little while.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we're not going to talk about it because it doesn't come out till next week. Oh. I was looking for something to watch the other night, and I was scrolling through Prime Video, and I didn't want anything too heavy, but I didn't want anything like that was going to be 3 hours of my time. And I found a documentary that was released last year about one of my favorite bands. It is a band called Casting Crowns.
Okay.
Grace D has been known to do a song or two of theirs from time to time. By the way, December 14th, Forney, Texas. Get ready. And it's called Casting Crowns Home by Sunday. And they call it that because the guy who founded Casting Crowns, Mark Hall, he is a youth pastor. To this day, still the youth pastor at his church in Georgia. But when they signed their record deal, the condition was, I am a youth pastor first. So they only play shows from Thursday to Saturday, and then they're home for church on Sunday.
Wow.
Church on Wednesday, and then they leave for the next stops. It's not as comprehensive as I wanted it to be, because I wanted them to kind of go more into the depth of some of the like album by album, but they do highlight a couple of their songs. It's a good way to spend an hour and 20 minutes if you're somebody who's interested in such things. Yeah. But they're a great band. I saw them at the State Fair of Texas a few years ago. They're really good live. I am a big fan, and so I enjoyed that very much. I also, on Tuesday, received my Steelbook Blu-ray for Kevin Smith's latest film called The 4:30 Movie. This is loosely based on a day in his childhood, which also happened to be the day of Hands Across America, where he meets his first actual girlfriend. And if you are a Kevin Smith fan, there's a lot of nice little Easter eggs in it. Ken Jeong is in this movie. He's the manager of the movie theater. I very much enjoyed this film. I watched it, and then I watched it with the commentary, and then I watched the featurette because I wanted to get through the whole thing. I enjoyed it. I like that it's lighter. It's funny, it's charming, it's cute. It'll be outside of my top 10, but I believe it's in my top 20 of the year right now. I just watched my 50th movie of the year.
Oh, wow.
Last night, by the way.
So you got, it even has Mr. Chow in it.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a very quick 88 minutes. So, any movies that you watched that we're not going to talk about here in a minute?
That's the one. Basically, the only movie I saw since last week. Yeah.
We'll get to
yeah.
Amazon Studios is doing a biopic on George Clinton. It's going to be directed by Bill Condon. If I were to ask you, Don, who would play George Clinton in a biopic, who do you think it would be? The leader of the Parliament Funkadelic.
You know, I'd be crazy on this. Danny Glover.
Not current day Danny Glover, because that dude's old.
Well, George Clinton was always old too.
Yeah, but I don't know if Danny Glover might be old.
You know,
he was 40 when he did the first Lethal Weapon. When he was like,
I'm just
I'm
saying,
too old for this. He was 40, but it is not Danny Glover. Playing George Clinton in the biopic for Amazon Studios will be one Eddie Murphy.
What?
That was announced this week. Why not?
Well, if he did Randy Watson.
Randy Watson is a national treasure, sir.
Exactly.
Do not besmirch the name of Randy Watson.
If that was not a besmirch. You know I love the Randy Watson. I said if he can do Randy, he can do George Clinton.
Don, did you get to see Godzilla -1 yet?
No.
We're getting a sequel from the same director. Don, you need to see this movie. I'm not kidding you.
Was that that wasn't the one with Kong?
No, that was Godzilla Kong, the new Empire. Not the thing.
Okay.
They call it -1 because it takes place 1 year before the first ever Godzilla movie.
Okay.
We've actually kind of talked about it a little bit on this show. Whenever I watch, and I use the prime example was the first Alien versus Predator.
Okay.
That movie kind of made me angry because it's called Alien versus Predator. And what I don't like when they do in these movies is you have the humans and you're trying to make me care about the humans. Don't care about the humans. They're fodder. It's Alien versus Predator fight. That's why I loved Pacific Rim. It's monsters and robots fight. Let's go. Godzilla -1 is done in a way, and it's on Netflix, as done in a way that makes me care about the people involved.
So that's one I probably then I could, if I got Netflix, I'll do it. I'll begin to check it out.
Now, there's also there's a version of it called Godzilla -Color, and it's a black and white version of the film, which I believe Netflix is dropping this month. If it hits, I will rewatch it in the black and white. And I want you to think about this, Don. When you watch that film, the entire budget for that film was $18 million.
For the Godzilla -1.
And it won the Oscar for Best Visual Effects. So think about that as you watch Godzilla -1. It's fantastic.
Okay, I'm putting on my little list.
Legendary Pictures is hooking up with a guy that was the showrunner for a show called Sweet Tooth, which I believe was on Prime Video. They're doing a live Gundam movie. I don't know how I feel about this.
What's the Gunya?
Gundam. Remember when we did
the song?
No, not Gundam. That's Gangnam Style.
Okay.
No, Gundam, when we were kids, was was one of the first really big animes of the robots that were also planes before Transformers.
Oh, okay.
That's Gundam.
Okay.
And they're doing a live action version. Now, we're getting a live action Voltron. I am very cautiously optimistic about that. But Gundam, I'll roll with you. But the problem is Gundam is so vast in its story.
You're more scared that they could give a trash.
I just don't know how they're going to do it. But you can look up, one of my favorite YouTube channels is called Secret Galaxy, and they do a whole episode about the history of Gundam, which is really, really good.
Secret Galaxy.
Going back into Don's wheelhouse, we're getting Orphan 3, Don.
Orphan 3? Oh, the
third Orphan movie. How you feeling about that?
I saw the first one, and that was about it.
We're also getting a third Benoit Blanc film, Don.
Benoit Blanc.
Two of our favorite movies is getting a third installment. It will be called Wake Up Dead Man, A Knives Out Mystery.
Oh, okay. The Knives Out. Okay.
We're getting a third one.
I'm game with that.
I loved Knives Out. I loved Glass Onion. I'm ready for this. Let's go to there now.
Now, who's going to be in it? Any names?
Let me see if I can look it up on the IMDb, because there was casting news, but I didn't see
like Craig or anything like that.
Callie. Oh, really? Announced so far: Kaylee Spenny, of course, Daniel Craig, Josh Brolin, Mila Kunis, Glenn Close, Jeremy Renner, Andrew Scott, Kerry Washington, Thomas Hayden Church. Good mercy. But that's what Rian Johnson does with these films.
And that's the thing, how he had that accident and he's already back, and he did the King's show, how he came back for season 3 on Renner. Gotta give it to the guy.
And it's expected next year.
Okay.
We don't have an official release date. Let's get into movie new releases and places you get movie new releases. Don, we're going to save yours for last.
Got it.
Coming up this week, we have Cillian Murphy and Emily Watson in a movie called Small Things Like These. In 1985, devoted father Bill Furlong discovers disturbing secrets kept by the local convent and uncovers shocking truths of his own. Also this week, a movie called Bird. Let me see what we got going on here. Bailey lives with her brother and her father, Bug, who raises them alone in a squat in northern Kent. Bug doesn't have much time to devote to them, so Bailey looks for attention and adventure elsewhere. We also have Weekend in Taipei. Don, we have a Luke Evans sighting.
Evans, okay.
A former DEA agent and former undercover operative revisit their romance during a fateful weekend in Taipei, unaware of the dangerous consequences of their past. Luc Besson was one of the writers on this. I'm interested. And it's from the creators of Taken and The Transporter.
And here's the thing, Taken and I'd like the originals on both. Mm-hmm. The second one's Taken 2, 3, nah. But Taken 1 originals, yeah.
They're fun. We have Christmas Eve in Miller's Point. On Christmas Eve, a family gathers for what could be the last holiday in their ancestral home. As the night wears on and generational tensions arise, one of the teenagers sneaks out with her friends to claim the wintry suburb for her own. So it's the feel-good movie of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
We also have a movie. Let me take a look at this in here. See what we got going on. Called Love Bomb. A mysterious dating app designed for one-night stand brings 3 strangers together with deadly consequences. I do not recognize anyone in this film.
And that kind of plot, yeah, when I met Faith on Match.com, don't know.
We also have where'd it go? A movie called Hippo. Hippo is a peculiar adolescent, and his Hungarian stepsister Buttercup struggled to come of age in late 1990s America. Okay. Also this week, the big release, Hugh Grant, Sophie Thatcher, Chloe East, and Topher Grace are featured in a movie called Heretic. Don has seen this.
Topher is a little bit. He could say
He's listed.
Yeah, no. It's basically those 3, though.
Don has reviewed this. You can read that review at www.theclubhousepodcast.com.
That's our website.
Do you want to talk about it, Don?
Generally.
All right. Now I actually have some friends in Utah who are, a couple of them are active Mormons. And this deals with 2 Mormon missionaries that go to a man's house and things go terribly. Go, Don.
Yeah, basically it's that story where they go to, like you're saying, when they get into the house, everything seems nice. He seems like a nice guy, but things don't seem like they are. The thing I really like about it, 2 things I want to bring up is I like the plot. It's kind of like in Jaws where you don't see the shark, but you know the shark is there. So it's that thinking man's kind of story where you just know there's something. And so it's more that thinking man horror, not a bunch of gore. Of course, there's a few scenes being a horror film, but not as bad. But secondly, how Hugh Grant, if he doesn't get nominations at the end of the year for this, and he might not because it's of the content, it would be a shame because how he's known for these romantic films, comedy films, some family films, and he could play that perfect psychopath. Just like how, like I said, how Heath Ledger was known for, all these different roles, but when he played the Joker, you never saw it coming. And it's that kind of thing where I think that new wheelhouse with him, Grant does incredible.
So you're not the only person I've heard that from.
What? Yeah.
You're not the only one I've heard.
Yeah, so it's high on Rotten Tomatoes. It doesn't surprise me. There's a good chance I'll be talking about this film at the end of the year.
All right.
Very good chance.
Movies on DVD and Blu-ray this week. A movie that I saw earlier this year called Between the Temples. It's okay. Basically about a young man who is Jewish, and he runs into his elementary school teacher, and she wants to be bat mitzvahed. It's There's a Blu-ray collection of the Thin Man movies, which I'm a big fan of because I'm a big fan of those older detective film noir kind of things. There is a steelbook for Gladiator because, as we know, we are 2 weeks away from that sequel. The Last Unicorn, the animated feature, gets a steelbook this week. We are getting a collector's edition of Born on the 4th of July. And we talked about Arrow Video. Whenever they have a release, we want to highlight that. They are releasing The Invasion with Don's favorite, Nicole Kidman. And they're also releasing a beefed up version of the Elvira Mistress of the Dark movie.
Anything with my Keira Knightley.
Not
I
at
gotta
this.
bring up Nicole Kidman. We gotta bring up my Keira Knightley.
And the Criterion Collection releases the original version of Scarface from the 30s.
Okay.
And finally, they're doing their release and 4K, which I've heard the 4K transfer looks outstanding, according to our friend Alan Cerny from Vital Thrills and from Matinee Heroes. Seven Samurai. The Criterion Collection.
You're talking about those other releases. You say silver box. For those who don't know, what do you mean by this?
Those are the metal cases that they'll come in.
Okay. So to get one of those, you have to be like an iconic. They just don't give them out to anything.
Sometimes.
It's kind of like the Criterion. If you get that, it's
Criterion's a whole different level.
Okay.
And now, this. Oh, let's try that again. That didn't do what it was supposed to do. Let's get into the Cheap Podcast. That other one was a practice run. Your one-stop shop for all things professional wrestling, and we are going to get right into it this week. First of all, we want to say congratulations to Mandy Rose and Tino Sabatelli. They got married over the weekend.
Oh, really?
A mazel tov to those kids.
Congratulations to her. Seriously.
On Impact last week, Savannah Evans returned. She is still a heel. And we also want to say congratulations, Killer Kelly, who hasn't been on TV, and now we know why for TNA. She and Myron Reed have welcomed a daughter, and her name is Ruby. So mazel tov to those kids. Reality of Wrestling was actually preempted this week, so there wasn't anything going on there. From WWE standpoint, they have released Tegan Knox, Indy Hartwell, and Baron Corbin.
Really?
Released.
You said Tegan Knox, Baron Corbin, and who else?
Indy Hartwell.
Do you see any surprises in those?
Baron Corbin for sure. And Indy Hartwell. She was really. Tegan hadn't been on TV in like 6 months, but Indy was really starting to get pushed.
And now it's so hard. Well, do you see any of them going to someplace else or within?
Corbin, definitely. I would hope he would go somewhere like both he and Indy Hartwell would probably do well in somewhere like TNA. Tegan, I would love to see work with the women's division in Ring of Honor.
Have her take on Athena.
Somebody's got to beat her. And we're going to get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Crown Jewel was a thing. Don, did you get a chance to watch it?
Part of it, not all of it. I saw the what you got with the Rhodes and Gunther match. I think they're able to give the finish well and not make Gunther look bad. It was a good wrestling match for that one. And you knew the little schmoz would happen with the bloodline and stuff like that at the end. I thought The Rock would come in.
As did I.
Yeah. And to kind of make that 4-on-4, and then that's going to build up for, the big show. But they got time, The main event of Mania, where it's going to be WrestleMania, you have The Rock and Roman and the Usos take on the other bloodline. Maybe they are saving that for the big show. So maybe The Rock will come out to Rumble.
I think your next appearance will be at Survivor Series.
Possibly. Or Survivor Series team, though. Now, would you do the bloodline with The Rock and the Usos and
nope. You put Rock on the heel side.
What do you think, though, with, Roman, the Usos, and The Rock taking on the other bloodline?
You put The Rock on the
Survivor Series, or would you save that for for the WrestleMania.
No, because you're going to have Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania 1-on-1.
That's what they're going to do this year.
That's my thought process.
Okay.
For Survivor Series, Rock's going to be on the heel side.
Oh, Willie. Okay.
In my opinion. But I mean,
why does Rock come out with the Cody thing? Is that kind of like, is he looking at Roman or is he doing the Cody or what's the? We don't even know. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I thought it was a good show. It was 2.5 hours in and out. We're good. No, it was actually
kind of shorter for that. I thought. I hated.
It wasn't a great show, but it wasn't a terrible show.
I think they made kind of a farce of the match of the women's. It could have been a lot better than all the schma stuff of the Tiffy time and the.
But we're making progress. That's all I'm saying. We're making progress. Goldberg announcing that Triple H has agreed to let him have a retirement match in 2025. I don't like what my brain tells me for that.
Wait, it's China? They both have their retirement match 1-on-1?
Not China, Don.
John Cena. Juan Cena.
Yes. That's what I think happens.
Those two, their final match.
Well, it's not going to be final match for both of them. Because I truly believe, at a minimum, Cena's final match will be SummerSlam.
I thought it was at Mania this year. I thought that was it.
He said it would be his last Mania. He didn't say it would be his last match.
Okay.
I've got a feeling it's going to be Cena.
Goldberg versus Cena.
Yeah.
I can see that too.
We'll see.
I want to go back real fast. I thought what they could have done with Liv and Nia could have been something what we saw with Kong and Nicole Gail Kim. You know, how Gail Kim and Kong went at it.
But I agree with you, Don.
Yeah.
But again, they're making progress in that section of the world.
Yeah.
Like, think about the fact that a match like that happened. That's huge.
Yeah.
And they didn't get to keep the belts. They got rings, and the rings look okay.
Yeah, it's a yearly thing that they're going to be doing. They're keeping the belts there. And I understand why they do that, and you get the ring. It's kind of like the Stanley Cup kind of thing when you think about it.
I'm interested in that WWE experience thing. It looks great.
So that's a permanent place where they're going to be. Yeah.
They opened it in January.
Yeah, so why don't they do that for the Hall of Fame here then?
That's a whole difference. We ain't got that kind of time, brother.
Yeah, I know that.
On Raw, Io Sky is now your new women's #1 contender, and Damian Priest is your men's #1 contender.
Next to Priest.
Last night was NXT at the 2300 Arena in Philly. They announced that Deadline will be December 7th in Minneapolis. That is a Saturday. It's the Saturday before December 14th.
Okay. Frisco.
Terrell, Texas. No, that's not in Frisco, Don.
No, okay. I forgot. But I remember the show.
5 minutes ago.
But I remember there was the show. Frisco from the other thing.
And they also announced that Carl Anderson's going to be out up to 9 months with a rotator cuff and a torn labrum.
Yeah, that's going to hurt.
Yeah.
You're going to be out for a while.
Did you watch NXT yet, Don?
This last one?
Last night.
No, because I'm still trying to catch up on the two from because I have a lot of wrestling I missed out on. I
will tell you what, and I don't know if you heard about this. They did, because they were at the 2300 Arena.
Okay.
They did an opening that was a tribute to the original television opening for ECW.
Really?
That was pretty cool. And it had that grainy VHS look to it and everything.
Oh, okay.
It was really neat. I very much enjoyed it. It was a good show. I mean, it was very, like, and then Alex and I talked about this. I like that they're playing smaller venues when they go on the road.
NXT.
Because it looks great for them. It's perfect for NXT. So keep doing that. AEW headlines. Marco Stunt has retired, which he is saying just due to health reasons.
But he's been out forever. He only had
Well,
one
he
fight.
wasn't under contract to AEW, so I'm sure he was working indie dates and stuff.
Oh, okay.
He showed up once on AEW like 6 months ago.
Yeah, and that was that little thing with Luchasaurus or whatever on the thing.
From Rampage, Deonna Purrazzo and Taya Valkyrie are now called the Vendetta. So adjust your roster accordingly there. From Dynamite, we may have had history last night, Don.
Yeah, again, it was last night.
We had a match without honor with the Learning Tree versus the Conglomeration. Big Bill, across the back of his trunks, had a quote from Tony Schiavone. Could that be the first time that has ever happened?
No, he's done the Tony Schiavone thing before on the trunks.
I've never seen him put
He
any.
made the point of it. Yeah, go back.
Okay, because I was just like,
yeah, you put T Schiavone. He had trunks with Tony Schiavone once before. It was like 2 months ago or something like that.
Because even Nigel was like, "How's that feel?" Tony's like, "I have no comment."
No, he's done that once before.
And I'm sorry, Don, but I'm gonna have to spoil this for you.
Go ahead. I'll get
Ricochet's mystery tag team partner was the returning Powerhouse Hobbs, formerly of the Don Callis family. And the way they wrote it in was this guy's contract with the Don Callis family expired last month and nobody knew. And then out comes Powerhouse Hobbs. So I'm going to save my question until after you get caught up.
Okay.
Because I have a question. No, because I want Alex here for this discussion too. Because I have a very interesting question I want to ask of both of you gentlemen. Ring of Honor rumored to be going to True TV. Apparently, True TV is trying to beef up putting sports in primetime. Because as we know, they help with the CBS coverage of the March Madness tournament. So, by the way, Don, last week and apparently this week, and if it's the same this week, I'm going to be really angry. Ring of Honor went 3 hours last week, Don.
So
3 hours, and now they're starting to put classic matches in the middle of it. So that takes up 40 minutes.
So when would they put Ring of Honor on if they get the True TV deal?
I don't know. That's all I've heard is that it's.
Will they adjust?
They'd have to because it's never the same amount. And it's tonight. I looked at it before we got on air, and it was scheduled for 3 hours again. And I'm like, no. Now I will say, last week's classic match, if I was feeling some kind of way and actually wanted to watch it, it's one that I would. From Halloween 2005, when it was Jay Lethal versus Curryman. Konnichiwa. I love Curryman. But no.
So would they just Rampage, do you think? Or would they,
Well, Rampage is going away. After December, there will be no more Rampage.
On Friday nights?
Correct. At all.
Okay.
They're bringing on another show, but that might, I don't know. But that's just a rumor at this point.
Maybe they'll do Ring of Honor on Friday nights instead. Who knows?
As long as it's not 3 hours.
Yeah.
And the Infantry is now part of Shane Taylor Promotions. So adjust your roster accordingly there. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about, Don?
No. Because we talked about my big thing was the Nia Jax thing when it came to wrestling. And I'll say this, having, even women referee there and the person of authority, I think was really cool too, And like you said, they're making strides. Mm-hmm. And maybe when they get back here, maybe they can do the Kong, Kim. Now you have Nia, Liv,
and you've got the Stratton variable too. Who's she going to catch?
So I don't know. That's
all right. Make sure over there is a QR code. It's kind of up and to the right of Don currently. Scan that. You'll get all of our stuff. Make sure that you're a part of the Patreon, which if you're watching this, you probably are. We have got some great tiered memberships coming your way very, very soon. But $5 a month, and you get some amazing content on this network. We are so proud to be a part of Sunset Lounge DFW. But hit that for all the stuff. Like our website, like our social media. If you want to follow me on your social media, everything is yes, that Rob Irvin. That's actually like right over there. It's right there. My co-host is Alex Barnhill. You can follow him on Vexploit on all of your social media, VEXPLOIT. Make sure that you go to Pro Wrestling Tees and look for us over there. Got some great t-shirts that you can buy. And if you want to design one, we'll help you out there. Just saying.
That you already only get those awesome shirts that even make me look good. ProWrestlingTees.com/the-cheap-podcast. And at Twitter, I'm at Igbunu. IGBNUEU. It's right down.
And he spelled it right.
I spelled it right. And lastly, if you want this madness at your place, email me, Don at clubhousepodcast.com.
We got some stuff cooking.
Yes, we do.
Just saying. Email Don for information on how we can come do a live remote show. We love doing live remotes and hanging out with the Empire. You can email me questions, comments, concerns. Tell me to go pound sand. I'm Rob at theclubhousepodcast.com. Charla Marshall, whose birthday is coming up very soon. One moment, please. Had to sneeze. She is on pictures because we are morally obligated to do that. Our normal show. By the way, this is now 18 in a row without missing a week. And then you're like, but Rob,
the streak.
We're 3 weeks away from Thanksgiving. Are you going to do a live show on Thanksgiving? Probably not, but that doesn't mean we're not going to have content. We got stuff cooking.
That's it.
You can. Our normal show every Thursday night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, is your one-stop shop for all things sports, pop culture, entertainment, pro wrestling. So until next week, for Don, for Alex, for the Empire, I'm Rob. Clubhouse is closed. Brittany Palmer has been doing some amazing, just great vacation videos and just living her best life because that's what she does.